Welcome back to Behind the Print podcast, where we feature industry leaders and uncover the creative minds and their businesses within the world of professional printing. Our mission is to provide you with inspiring, actionable resources that elevate your business projects and accelerate your journey to excellence in profit and in print. Today's episode is Have a Voice Through Print Media, and joining me here today are the organizers of Simple Elegance Bridal Show, Mary Grace and Mathew Wooten. How you guys doing today?
Been doing well. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So if you guys are ready, let's just dive right in. Sound good?
That sounds fun.
So who do you guys typically serve as a bridal show organizer?
So there's two categories. Obviously, the vendors who we're trying to connect to brides to be, and the brides or grooms, typically brides to be, who are looking for wedding vendors for their special day. And our job really is to make that connection, to help make that connection, and allow those groups of people to meet and interact and have a good place where they can have the time to get to know each other a little bit, to do some interacting, and potentially the brides can discuss whether their date's available. So we've been doing the show for 10 years. Sometimes we forget, that not everybody's familiar with it, but our show has a reputation for being a smaller, more intimate show, to where there's no cattle call feel, like where you got such a huge number of people in a room that you feel like people are pushing you from behind to get out of the way. That people have that time to connect and communicate about their needs and get inspiration for their wedding, and just have a good, fun day at the events.
It's more of a personal approach than a business approach.
Right.
So what are some typical problems that you guys or your clientele run into when putting together a show?
There's different last minute cancellations from vendors can be a thing. We're trying to print programs ahead of time and have the room layout. We take special care to make sure that when we do the vendor layout, that it makes sense where everyone's going to be and where everything is in the show. And then if someone cancels, then we've got to potentially reprint programs and communicate with all the vendors to let them know that there's going to be changes. And of course, that would also include updating the website to reflect which vendors are actually at the show, so that the brides aren't coming expecting maybe one particular vendor to be there or not be there. What other challenges? Weather, making sure that we get the magazines printed and delivered in time. We have, obviously, you guys print our magazines for us, and making sure that Mary Grace has the layout and design done and the articles all in time to get the magazines printed and out, because we give them out at the show. I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but we give them out at the show, and we use them to advertise for the show ahead of the shows, typically, with the exception of this coming special edition that we're printing right now.
Okay. So you kind of already did answer my next question. So how do you go? That's fine. How do you guys go about solving these problems?
Oh, goodness. It totally depends. We try to take that long breath. Depending on the show, we'll have people that we've already had to tell, vendors that is, tell that we were full and we, sorry we didn't have room, but then we'll keep them on a list if we have a last minute cancellation. And it certainly has happened more than once that we've had to go to a vendor like 1 or 2 days before the show and say, hey, would you still be interested in participating in the show tomorrow? Can you be ready in time? Because we had someone cancel. But that's not a huge problem. That's not like an all the time, everyday thing. Go ahead. Yeah, so Mary Grace is just saying, she was specifically saying, like sometimes when you talk about problems and dealing with problems, there's things that come up at the shows that we want to make sure we deal with right away. So we have a DJ at each show, or an MC that plays music continuously. And if it's so loud that the vendors nearby can't communicate to their potential clients, we're dealing with that on the spot. But we always try to do that. Anything that comes up, someone has an issue with, huh? Yeah, they have an issue with their booth, or they weren't expecting this, or they need an extension cord, just little things that we try to make ourselves available during the shows. And we have a vendor meeting at the beginning of the shows. Specifically, one of the things we talk about is, hey, if anyone has any issues, if there's anything that's wrong, if you need anything, let's deal with it today. We don't want you to go away unhappy with the event. Let us know so we can handle whatever might happen and whatever issues might come up today. Let's deal with them today, rather than waiting. So it's just being flexible. I mean, being flexible and figuring out how to handle things. And since we've been doing the show for 10 years, we have gotten familiar with what the things are that come up and how to deal with them. So, just experience.
Yeah, experience and planning ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you guys stand out from other bridal show organizers?
I think there's different people that love to shop exclusively at places like Walmart or Costco at Sam's. They want that experience, and then there's other people that like to shop small and local, and they like that experience. In our shows, and not that one is better than the other, and we try to stress that. It's not like we're trying to say, oh, look at us, we're so fantastic that our shows are small and intimate. It just depends on what you like. And we attract the vendor and the attendee who likes the smaller, more intimate feel, where they have a chance to make connections. In fact, the vendors networking and making connections with other vendors, and the vendors and the attendees having time to discuss their wedding and their plans and availability and things like that. So that it's not necessarily about us as organizers so much as the show that Mary Grace really has built, having over time, gotten and maintaining that reputation for the small local feel, where people have that little bit of extra time and the pace is slow enough that the feel is a small town. We're not a store, obviously, but back to that comparison from shopping small to, going to the big giant box store, that's the difference. And not that one's better than the other. It's just one's better than the other for a certain type of person.
Can you tell me about any major milestones or accomplishments that have defined Simple Elegance Bridal Show?
Oh yeah. In fact, I've got a magazine one of the older magazines sitting in front of me right here, so I can reference exactly what it is. We've been voted Tri-Cities here in Tennessee is Johnson City, Kingsport, and Bristol. This corner of Tennessee is known as the Tri-Cities to locals. We've been voted Tri-Cities Best Small Bridal Show by the Johnson City Press.
Oh, wow.
And Time News readers. So that was a special monument. That was special to receive that nomination and award, and the fact that we've been doing it for 10 years now. Sure, and Mary Grace is saying it's a good sign, obviously, when you have vendors that come back, right? If you only have vendors one time, and then your next show is a completely new set of vendors, then that might be a bad sign. But many or most, like probably most of our wedding vendors are return vendors. Even in different cities. That's right. So we started the show here in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and we've done shows in Knoxville, Tennessee, Morristown, and Bristol. This month we're doing Morristown and Bristol. And these are cities that are an hour and a half apart, and vendors will travel. Vendors from Jonesboro that do Jonesboro will travel to do, the show in Morristown an hour and a half away. So that makes us feel like we're doing something. Sure. So this doesn't, I don't think, go to answering your question directly, but Mary Grace is bringing up the fact that one thing that I think the vendors really appreciate that we've done from the very first show, from the very beginning, we do prize giveaways at the show, and also after the show, prize drawings, and people get prize drawing entry forms. So the attendees get prize drawing entry forms to enter to win, and they can enter to win whatever they want. It's not just, like they're drawn out of one big hat, but they enter to win each different prize, whatever ones they choose. But the thing that she's referring to is we give extra prize drawing entries away for getting the initials of the vendors at the show. So like we have a list in the program of all the vendors, and for depending on how many vendors we have, it's usually something like we'll give one extra prize drawing entry for every 3 sets of initials, or so they'll have so many extra chances to win by getting initials. And what that is, the reason that's good is because it gives the vendors a chance to see more people. Then maybe someone wasn't going to stop at their exhibit, but by giving the attendees incentive to get initials from everyone at the show, that puts the attendees in front of their booth and gives the vendors a chance to at least make a good impression. Maybe their elevator speech, or qualify a lead, give them a handout or whatever, and make an impression and have more vendors, more attendees.
How do you use the magazines to elevate or promote your message?
We print our magazines with you guys and have been doing that for years now. I guess it's been about 10 years that we've been doing that. I think it's maybe except for the very first show. We use the magazines to promote the show. We give them out ahead of the show. We distribute them at local businesses so people can pick them up, look through, and then we also hand them out at the shows. We have advertisements for local businesses and wedding vendors, and styled shoots that Mary Grace organizes throughout the year. She brings together local wedding professionals to do the photo shoots, and then those images get used in social media to promote all the vendors involved, and then go in the magazines to do the same, and then also inspire to brides-to-be. People can go through the magazines and get ideas, see those photos. There's articles written by local wedding professionals. You guys have always done a fantastic job printing the magazines, and it's nice. We had the one that you guys are working on right now. The centerfold needed to be all one image, and connected and look good. And so your staff contacted us. Mary Grace had uploaded it as 2 separate images, and they said, hey, but put a note in asking to make sure that it looked good in the centerfold of the magazine. And someone contacted us and said, hey, it probably would be better to go ahead and upload that as one image so that we can figure it out. That was really helpful. And Mary Grace is saying that she's excited about, so the current special issue that's being printed right now is a beauty and diversity theme. And we really want to celebrate culturalism and show diversity is one thing that makes our country great, and that we see the value in all people that live here. For people maybe a certain age, like people like me who went to Sunday school when they were little, probably remember red, yellow, black, and white. We're all precious in His sight. Does that sound
That sounds familiar? Yes.
Maybe you don't have to be a certain age. Maybe they still say that, but I definitely took that to heart. And we had people of all different colors, and we see the value in featuring that in the magazines, and especially the special editions that's coming out right now, just to show that, hey, we're all here together, and we value each other, and we need to love and protect each other, and we feel that makes a statement, and that's something unique that we're trying to do in the magazine.
Can you tell me about any major challenges or obstacles you've encountered?
COVID. Yeah,
I can imagine. I think that's been an obstacle for a lot of people.
COVID was a pretty big obstacle for in-person events. Our last, let's see, our last show before the COVID shutdown was March of 2020.
That's when it all went down.
Right toward the beginning of March, and I think that like back when things were getting bad in Washington State, and we were all looking around waiting for the shoe to drop, and and then that show in March, we had low attendance, and everybody at the show was just kind of like, "Uh-oh, this is real. This is going to happen. What's going to happen?" But I think that fall, did we not do a show? I think so. That stopped us from doing the fall shows, and then we talk about solving problems. After that, I guess it must have been the following February and March shows we did, and we had a whole new set of, I don't want to call it restrictions, but different policies in place where, after that we started scheduling. When people buy tickets, they used to just buy tickets for the show, and then we started selling tickets for people to schedule their arrival time, and only selling a certain number of tickets per time block. And they were allowed to stay as long as they wanted, but the idea was that we didn't want to have all the attendees show up at the beginning, so we only sold so many tickets for the first hour, and so many tickets for the second hour, and so many tickets for the third hour. We had face coverings to give away, and we had hand sanitizer at registration, and we wore face coverings at registration. But probably the scheduling arrival times was the biggest to help promote social distancing back then. But that was one of the biggest obstacles. We never keep anybody from coming, but it certainly encourages. If they schedule that, then we don't typically have a problem. They show up in their scheduled arrival time, and it even improves the flow of the show.
So, sort of a different question for you guys. If you guys had a completely free day to spend however you'd like, how would you spend it?
Really? I guess we're pretty old and boring. Mary Grace says just relaxing and watching TV. She'd probably watch reruns of Charmed or something like that. And that's funny because I love being with Mary, so she would spend the day relaxing and watching TV, and I would spend my day with Mary Grace. I guess that goes to show you which one loves the other more.
Well, nothing wrong with just taking a personal day to watch some TV. I'll probably be getting into that this weekend, to be honest. One last question for you guys. How can our listeners get in touch with you to learn more or collaborate with you on a project?
So the simplest, easiest way to remember probably is simpleelegancebridalshow.com, and they can just contact us through the website. They can email simpleelegancetn@yahoo.com, or find us on Facebook at Simple Elegance TN, or also Blue Sky, the same. And then we're on YouTube at Simple Elegance Bridal Show. But like I said, the easy one to remember is just simpleelegancebridalshow.com. They could reach us through the website and go from there.
Okay, very good. Did you guys have any questions for me?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you guys for joining us. And I'd say that's a wrap on another episode of Behind the Print. Thank you guys for joining us. And thank you to our listeners for joining us as we explored the artistry and innovation of the printing world. Remember, having a strong vision, building the right strategy, and using the right tools like print to amplify your message will make your brand stand out from the crowd. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to get your sample pack today from PrintingCenterUSA.com and share it with your fellow business enthusiasts. Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying, and remember, there's always more behind the print.